Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Hess. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. Come on in, sit down. Can I get you anything before we start? Coffee, water? You guys are good? Okay. So I'm so glad you're here today. How was your vacation? So I heard you just went on one. Good, good. And I'm glad you guys are retired now, so you probably get to spend more time with your grandkids. That's so good. I'm so happy for you guys. You guys really deserve it. You've worked hard. So the reason we're here today is you guys provided me with all of your financial information. Thank you so much for sending that to me. So what I've done is I've gone through everything that you've provided for me. We've come up with a plan, so we're going to go through the plan. And then at the end, what we're going to do is go through a timeline. So what things need to be done right away, and then what things maybe we have 3 to 6 months to work on. So we're going to go through this, and if any point in time you have a question, or maybe there's something I went through that you didn't quite understand, just feel free to stop me. I'm here to make sure you understand everything that we go through today, and I want you to leave here feeling comfortable and confident that everything that we've discussed makes sense and is the best choice for you. So I've made copies for you guys. Here's your copy for each of you. I'll let you look at this. So we're just going to go through this, and like I said, stop me if you have a question. So the first page is going to be kind of a summary and some of the things that we discussed about earlier when we first started to meet. So at the beginning when we first met, you gave me 4 goals that were important to you. So those goals were reduce any estate and gift tax liability, and ensure that you have all of your necessary estate planning documents. We were going to review your insurance contracts and discuss implications of purchasing long-term care insurance. Reduce your personal income taxes, and then based on your risk tolerance, recommend a portfolio that meets your investment needs. So your risk tolerance, what we spoke about was that you were willing to take on a little bit of investment risk. And then one thing that was important to you was that we didn't invest in any tobacco stocks. So we've made sure not to do anything of that sort. One thing we discussed was your federal tax bracket. You're currently in the highest federal tax bracket of 37%. And the current inflation rate right now is 2.25%. So that's going to be a major factor going forward, is your federal income tax bracket and how we kind of move forward and navigate what we should do for your financial plan. So looking at your financial health, which is located on page 2. So your net worth is a little over $13,214,000, and you have a disposable income of $284,000. So overall, you've accumulated substantial wealth during your lifetime. So it's important that we keep that, grow that, so that's why we're here today. One thing that we did look at was your current ratio, which is going to be your current assets divided by your current liabilities. You currently have very low current liabilities. You have some credit card debt from that vacation you just took, and then your mortgage on your vacation home, but other than that, you really don't have a lot of debt. You do have very high current assets, so your current ratio is actually very good. We're in a very good position there. And another thing we look at is your monthly housing costs, which is basically how much you're paying for your house versus how much you can really afford. So you have a very good monthly housing cost ratio. You've paid off your primary residence. You have a relatively low monthly payment on your vacation home, and it's a very good ratio at this point. So I think in those areas of concern, we are good there. One thing we do want to note, your current savings and emergency fund. So what you gave me was that you sit at roughly about $50,000 currently. You do have quite a bit of money in certificates of deposit, or CDs. So you have about $800,000 in CDs. But one thing we do want to focus on is maybe building up that cash reserve, which is your checking and savings. So if any emergency arose or something like that, we really need to build that up to about an average of 3 to 6 months because we want to make sure that you have the liquidity you need should there be an emergency. With a CD, the money is there, but there could be a penalty involved. It could take a few days. So really we want to build up that emergency fund. Just you have that money right away and you can get to it. Okay, so we went through that. So let's go to number 2 where it says recommendations on page 2. Like I said, we're going to increase our checking and savings, and I'll go through a plan on how to do that in just a moment. And then I really think with you have that installment payment coming in from your business, a really good use of that money would just be to go ahead and pay off your vacation home. You don't have much remaining on that home, so you could save all of the interest that you're going to pay in the future, and I believe it's about 5 years of interest payments, so you would eventually save, and you would virtually have no debt at that point, which is always a good place to be in life. So if we move to page 3, now we're going to kind of start getting into the meat and bones of the presentation, if you will. So I've went through 5 different areas. So we have insurance, investments, retirement, tax planning, and estate planning. So there's 5 different areas that we're going to go through here. The first area on page 3 is going to be your insurance. So we've gone through each of your insurance policies, all the different types of policies. The first one we're going to look at is your homeowner's policy. So the face value of your homeowner's policy is about $400,000. And really the rule is you want to carry about 80% of your home's value in insurance. So that $400,000 is not 80%. So we need to bump that up into about $620,000. That way we can get at that 80% level. That's something very important that we should do quickly. We also looked at the homeowner's policy on your vacation home. So your vacation home is fine. You are above the 80% minimum. So you're good there. I don't think any action needs to be done here. So we also looked at your auto insurance. You have a low deductible, a low yearly premium, and pretty high adequate coverage. So I think on your auto insurance policy, you're doing okay there as well. So Medicare was something important to note. So you told me that you were enrolled in Medicare Parts B and D. So because you are both now retired, not working, we really need to get you into Medicare Part A. So Medicare Part A aligns with Social Security. So in order to continue to receive your Social Security payments, we need to be enrolled in Medicare Part A. That's something very important. And you can enroll in Part A anytime, so we can go ahead and do that pretty quickly as well. So your life insurance policies. Now, Mr. Hess, you do have a higher life insurance policy than Mrs. Hess. Because both of you are retired, we're not really looking at that life insurance to cover a wage earner at death or an income that needs to be replaced. So really what this life insurance policy is there to do is to cover your administrative expenses at death, estate expenses. So you estimated those expenses to be about $300,000 for each of you. So those policies are more than adequate to cover the $300,000 administrative and estate expenses. And then you will have some left over as well for living expenses or other expenses. One thing we need to look at is I would advise you to get with your insurance agent who sold you these life insurance policies. You have very high cash values on both of these policies. So if that cash value could be used to pay the premiums, that's something you could look into. We just want to see how this policy is written. We want to make sure we're making the best decision right there. So ask him to give you the full printout of the pros and cons of having the cash value pay the premiums, or if it can, and then we'll look into that a little bit further going forward to see where we're sitting there and what the best course of action will be. And that brings us to our long-term care insurance. So you guys are 71 and 68. So by the age of 75, 60% of people will require long-term care insurance, which is quite high. The average cost of long-term care insurance is $120,000 per year. So if both of you are in a long-term care facility, that would be $240,000 a year, which is a substantial amount of money for living expenses, really. So long-term care insurance is a little bit tricky. So I would recommend you getting with your insurance agent and see what your options are. But really, long-term care insurance would be a good option for you because you've built substantial wealth and because you want to pass that wealth on to your children. If you didn't have long-term care insurance, paying those monthly payments to the nursing facility or wherever you may be will really draw down all of your assets. So you may have to start selling stock and then there's taxes involved. So it's going to draw down your assets substantially, depending on how many years. 3 to 5 years in a nursing home could really put a big dent in the wealth that you've accumulated. So what I would recommend is we'll visit with an insurance agent. We'll see with your ages what those premiums would look like. And I'd also recommend getting a longer elimination period. So what that elimination period is the period of time when you first enter the nursing facility that you would basically self-insure. So because you have substantial wealth, you can self-insure for a longer period of time. So the longer you can self-insure for, the lower those premiums will get, and that'll really bring down the cost of your premium, and they'll be really beneficial to you in the long run. So I think that's something we could go over with the insurance agent, and we'll go through with that. So just a summary of what we just talked about: enroll in Medicare Part A. We're going to renew your homeowner's policy and look at an increased amount of coverage. And then we're going to set up that long-term care policy and then see if the cash value of your life insurance can pay your premium. So I've summarized all that on here. I know it's a lot going forward, but we'll get there and we'll make it happen, and we'll do the best thing for you guys. So the next part on page 4 that we're going to look at is investment planning. So you've shared with me all of your portfolios as well as your retirement accounts. So thank you for doing that. So we've looked at your stock portfolio. So right now, your stock portfolio has a $20,000 loss overall. And also your Sharpe ratio was lower than the Sharpe ratio of the market. And what that means is your stock portfolio underperformed the market. So my recommendation is, with that loss and the fact that the portfolio is underperforming, we should just sell these assets and diversify into something that we can use to outperform the market. So because that's always the main goal in the long run. So if we sell these assets, you'll have a $20,000 loss. You can use $3,000 of that loss to deduct on your taxes this year, and then you can carry forward that loss, $3,000 every year going forward until you have deducted the total loss of the $20,000. So we can do that, and then we'll go ahead and diversify. Our goal is to beat the market in the stock market. So I think there are some better stocks that we could get into that could be more beneficial to you. And then your mutual fund portfolio, overall, it's doing pretty well. But because you're in the highest federal tax bracket, we do want to look at municipal income. So municipal bonds, which are tax-free. So anything you earn on that is going to be a tax-free to you. So that will save you a substantial amount of money. And your tax equivalent yield will be pretty good as well, because of your 37% tax bracket. So we really want to get you into some tax-free stuff. Try to lower your what you pay in taxes. So let's look at Mr. John's 401k account. So right now you're just in one fund. It's an S&P index fund, which is a decent fund to be in. However, it performs right with the market. So it'll never be worse than the market, but it'll never be better than the market. So we want to look at diversifying that a little bit further. And also, you did mention to me that you were charitably inclined. So because of your age, you are 71. So if we take advantage of the qualified charitable distribution, which means, the first thing we would do, in order to take advantage of the qualified charitable distribution, we would roll your 401k into an IRA. It's a very simple process. You just roll it over. And in order to qualify for the charitable distribution, you have to be 70 and a half, which you are. So then we look at calculating your RMD. So whatever your RMD, and it's a factor from the IRS table that's based off of your age, whatever that RMD is, you can give to a qualified charity tax-free. So I think it's a very underutilized tool that we could use, since you are charitably inclined and because of your age, you do qualify to fit into this. A lot of people give to their church anyway, so why not use that money that would have been tax-free and give that to the church? Effectively, you can give them more because you didn't pay taxes on that money. So it's really beneficial to everyone involved. And then Miss Mary, your 401k account, so right now you're in what we call a target fund or an age-weighted fund. So what that fund does is, as you get older, it becomes more conservative to kind of fall in line with your age, which is fine, but you don't really have a lot of control over those assets where they're sitting now. So my recommendation would be to roll that into an IRA, and then we can further diversify from there, and then you can have a little bit more control over what your assets are in. And you did say that you're willing to take on a little bit of risk, so we can be a little bit more aggressive in that account as well. So, and I think as far as your investment planning goes, I think we've covered the major points. So we're going to go over to, and we've covered we just covered your retirement planning section. So now we're going to go over to your income tax planning. So like I said earlier, in order to reduce your income tax, we're going to invest that bond portfolio, the fixed income portfolio, into municipal bonds, which are tax-free bonds. We're going to take advantage of that tax harvesting by selling that stock portfolio and creating the $20,000 loss. And then also, because you're charitably inclined, we're going to roll that 401k into your IRA. Then we can take advantage of the qualified charitable distribution, and then we can use that money to give to a charity of your choice, and that would be tax-free. So we've gone through, those are the three things that would be beneficial to you in your income tax planning to lower that income tax. Another option that you do have, if you did give, so the standard deduction for you to filing jointly is $27,800. So if you did give more than that cash, you could itemize your tax return. Anything above that threshold of $27,800 would be 100% tax deductible on your tax return. So that's an option we could go through too. You can kind of look at it both ways, doing the qualified charitable distribution or doing this and itemizing. We just have to see what's more beneficial to you in the long run. Okay, and then so at the bottom of page 6, we're going to go through your estate planning. So this is something that's very important, and I believe not enough people focus on what they do for their estate planning or even have an estate plan. But when you've built substantial wealth, it's really important to look at this and make sure you have a really good plan laid out for the future. So the current estate exemption amount is $11.7 million. So that's $11.7 million per each of you. So that may change in the future. It's expected to go down. No one is quite sure when or what it will be when that happens, but it is expected to go down. So that's definitely something that we want to look at for the future. Make sure we're keeping up to date with it. That way, when that does happen, we have a plan and we were ready. And so it doesn't sneak up on us and then we become, oh no, what do we do? We never want to hit that situation. So we're going to monitor that closely, make sure you guys are prepared should something happen, and we'll have a little bit of time before it happens so we can really plan out what our plans for the future will be. So the most important thing right now for your estate planning is you do not have all of your estate planning documents laid out. So you really need to get with an attorney, have powers of attorney written up, healthcare directives, all of those major estate planning documents that you need to be done quickly. So another thing, it is a really good rule of thumb to review your wills every 3 to 5 years. So I'm not sure when the last time that was reviewed for you guys is, but while you're there, just go ahead and take a look. Did anything change? Did you have any new grandbabies since you last wrote that will? You know, are your circumstances different? That's something that needs to be reviewed frequently just to make sure everything is in line with what you want at your death. So another thing that I think would be very beneficial to you guys, so since you have a very substantial net worth, the majority of your assets are under Mr. Hess's name individually. So I really think visiting with an estate planning attorney and setting up a bypass trust would be a good option for you guys. So what happens is at death, historically the first to die is usually the male. That's just the way the world is, unfortunately. So at death, if Mr. Hess passes away first, his 11.7 exemption would go into a bypass trust. So that trust would be set up to where Mrs. Hess, you could receive income from that trust during your lifetime, but then at your death, those assets would roll to your beneficiaries. So, and they would get that tax-free. So really the best assets to put in a bypass trust are those assets that you think are going to appreciate over time, because they're really getting that benefit that at Mr. Hess's death, they sat in there, appreciated, and then they then roll over to the children tax-free. It's a great estate planning tool, and I think your attorney could really help you going forward with setting that up. So another thing that was really important, so I noticed that both of your retirement plans have your estate listed as the beneficiary. What that does is when you pass away, that money rolls into your estate. So it really increases the gross estate value. And really the more beneficial thing to do would be to name a beneficiary who is a person. So your spouse, your children, that way that retirement money is out of your estate. It rolls directly to them. So it's a much easier process, and then you don't have to pay possibly estate taxes on that money that was in your estate. It'll just go right through. So we've gone through, those are the main points in the estate planning documents that I think, or the estate planning section that I think would be the most beneficial to you. So I really think visiting with an estate planning attorney in your near future would be helpful. So that we've gone through all the 5 major points. So now we're going to look at a timeline. So what things are most important to do right now? What things can we wait maybe 3 months? What things can we wait maybe 6 months? We don't want to wait too long. We want to get this done. You guys can have peace of mind. You can just live out your retirement and not have to worry about these things. So the first things that we should do right away. So I would recommend visiting with your estate planning attorney. We really need to get all of those necessary estate planning documents laid out right now. So that's very important. So, and then while you're there, review your will, make sure it's still up to date with everything that you've discussed. So, and also another thing while you're there, he can talk to you about the bypass trust. We can write that into your will since maybe it needs to be updated already. So we can go and update that as well. So another thing that needs to be done right away is for you to enroll in Medicaid Part A. That's something that'll, because if you're receiving Social Security, we really need to be in that Medicare Part A, right away. Another thing, increase the amount of homeowners insurance on your vacation home. That's something that we should do right away. So you can visit with your insurance agent. Now, I do have an insurance agent that I work closely with. Her name is Sarah, and I can give you her contact information. I think she could be really helpful for you if you don't have anyone that you're working with currently. She has a lot of good products, and she's very knowledgeable about what she does. Now, we do have a relationship, and I'll just let you know this. So if you do go with her and buy insurance through her, I do get a little bit of part of the revenue from that. So I just wanted to be really forthcoming and let you know that that is kind of an agreement that we have together. You're not obligated to use her in any way, but I think she is a very trustworthy, reliable agent that I think she could have some really good products for you guys. So I'll give you her information when we're done, and then you can give her a call whenever you feel. So another thing that you can do really quickly and really easily is rename the beneficiaries in your retirement plan. So we don't want those beneficiaries to be your estate. We want them to be either your spouse or your children or someone, a person, not the estate. And then another thing, we'll go ahead and pay off that credit card bill. So you guys have that $10,000 that you spent on vacation. So we'll go ahead and pay that off right away. That way we don't incur any unnecessary fees from your credit cards. So those are all the things that I think need to be done right away. And they're very doable. I can help you along with the process and we can get those things completed. Actions that need to be completed in the next 3 months. So we'll visit with that agent and set up your long-term care policy. We'll do that relatively quickly in 3 months. And then we can go ahead and start selling that underperforming stock portfolio and get you into something different, diversified, something that can really serve you well in the future as far as your assets go. We're also going to reevaluate your bond portfolio. We'll get you into some fixed income things. That way you can start earning that income and it'll be tax-free to you. In the next 3 months, as you start receiving those installment payments from your business, we can pay off your mortgage from your vacation home. So it's not something that needs to be done right away. We can just start making those bigger payments towards it so we can get that paid off pretty quickly. And then we also want to build up that emergency cash fund. So you're going to have those payments start rolling in. We can put some of those funds to build up that emergency cash fund. And then some actions that could be completed within the next 6 months. So we have a little bit longer to work on these. So we'll visit with an insurance agent to see if the cash value of your policy can start paying the premiums. And then we'll roll both of your retirement plans into those IRAs. That way we can diversify, have a little bit more control of your assets. We can take advantage of that qualified charitable distribution, and we can go from there. We have a little bit of time to do that. And then I believe, so we're going to do all these. I know that was a lot, and do you have any questions for me? And if you think about any questions in the future, feel free to call me. I'm always available. So I want you guys to feel confident and comfortable in the decisions that you make. I'm here to work with you. I'm here to work with your CPA, your attorney, your insurance agent. We want to make the best plan for you guys. So I want you to feel really comfortable, really confident that you've made the best decisions for yourself and your family. And going forward, you don't really have to worry about this. This is all taken care of. You are set. And you guys just live out your years, retired years, just happy and spend time with your family and your grandkids. And that's why we're here. We want to give you that peace of mind. So like I said, that's all I have for you guys. But if you have any questions, we can chat. Or if you think of something when you get home, just give me a call. We'll go through it. But I'm really glad you guys came in today. And I'm so happy to see you guys. And I look forward to our relationship in the future. Thank you so much.